2011, and she will be speaking about Tay-Sachs disease.
My name is Abinash Kaur, and the disease that I've been researching is Tay-Sachs disease. This is my outline. The introduction. You don't have to copy it because I'm going to explain this later on. So Tay-Sachs disease is basically a rare fetal hereditary disease of infants. It's a buildup of fatty compound in the brain because there's a deficiency or absence of the enzyme hexosaminidase A. Hex A, as it is also known as, is a protein that metabolizes lipid molecules, GM2, which accumulates in the brain's nerve cells, which makes it a severe neurological disease. The cause. So hexosaminidase A protein has two parts, the alpha and beta subunit. And the activator subunit binds alpha and beta, and it's located in the lysosomes of cell. The lysosome is basically the recycling plant of the cells because the lysosome takes large complicated molecules and breaks them down into small components. Lysosome can also waste storage organelles for molecules that can't be broken down or reused. Hexosaminidase is one of the proteins that breaks down molecules. It specifically breaks down molecule GM2 ganglioside. GM2 is used for making nerve cell membranes. The activator brings GM2 to lysosome, where it binds it to alpha and beta subunit. Hex A activates and processes GM2. GM2 molecule then processes into a smaller component to be used again. People with Tay-Sachs, unfortunately, for them, Hex A is either missing or not working correctly. Therefore, Hex A can no longer hold GM2 ganglioside brought by the activator, and GM2 can no longer be broken down, and they gather inside the lysosome. Cause. Now, in the first picture, the picture over here, you can see that the Hex A protein is working correctly and the GM2 is being binded to it. However, in people with Tay-Sachs, the GM2 is not working correctly. The alpha subunit here isn't binded with the beta subunit here. So Hex A is not working properly, and then the GM2 is building up in the lysosome. In the picture here, the nerve cell is working properly with GM2 and Hex A. But then what happens is when the lysosome builds up, it starts to blow up and dies. There are three types of Tay-Sachs disease. There's classic, and it's also known as infantile, and the symptoms usually are occurring between 3 to 6 months of age. Sadly, death generally occurs by age 5. For juvenile onset, children develop symptoms between ages 2 and 10 years of age. The death is usually by age 15. Juvenile onset is actually a milder form of Tay-Sachs disease. Late onset, which is also known as LOTS, is very rare, and the symptoms usually are between adolescence and the mid-30s. Life expectancy varies, and in most cases, it's unaffected. The gene. For Tay-Sachs, it is in chromosome 15, and chromosome 15 contains 1,200 genes, and hexA is one of them. Hexa's gene ID is 3973. A gene ID is just another way of identifying a particular protein sequencing. For Tay-Sachs, the gene can have more than 90 mutations. A mutation is simply an accidental change in your DNA sequence. Here you can see the Tay-Sachs, it might be ATA, but it changes to AAA. Inheritance. Tay-Sachs is an autosomal recessive disease, and in order for a person to inherit, both parents must have an abnormal copy of the gene, which makes it recessive. Also, since it's not in the gametes, hexA is a protein, it's not a sex chromosome, which makes it autosomal. Chance. If two parents are carriers, there's a 50% chance that their child will be a carrier but not have the disease. There's a 25% chance that their child will not be a carrier and not have the gene at all. There's a 25% chance that their child will have the disease though. Prevalence. Each year, about 16 cases of Tay-Sachs are diagnosed in the United States. Among Ashkenazi Jews, French Canadians, Cajuns, 1 in 27 people are carriers. 1 in 50 Irish Americans are carrier, and in the general population, 1 in 250 people are. Prevalence. In this chart, the white states are basically the states that don't have any Tay-Sachs cases at all. But the dark green ones are the ones that are okay-ish. They have some cases, but not that many. The light yellow ones are the ones that are most affected. And since there's no purple, it means that the USA does not have that big of cases of Tay-Sachs. Symptoms. Symptoms for Tay-Sachs usually begin to develop around the first 3 to 6 months for an infantile onset. The child develops slower than other children, and red spots develop in the back of the child's eyes. As you can see in this picture right here, there's a spot right there that shows the red spot. By age 2, the child is blind, has delayed development, seizures, and paralysis. The baby then progressively loses the ability to see, to hear, and eventually to move. Death usually occurs by the time the child is 5. Diagnosis. Couples can get screened for gene with blood tests. Pregnant mothers have several options. They can have an unborn tested for the hexA deficient, and if the test doesn't detect the hexA, the infant will have Tay-Sachs. Between 10th and 12th week, a mother can have a CVS, and between the 15th and 18th week, a mother can have an amniocentesis. Here's a picture that basically shows the amniocentesis and the CVS. Treatment. There is no cure yet. However, scientists are using mouse models to figure out a cure, but the mouse model's usefulness is limited because mice actually possess a minor alternative pathway for breaking down GM2 ganglioside. Also, when a baby is born with Tay-Sachs, the extent of neurological damage prior to birth is unknown, and scientists currently are using a ganglioside synthesis inhibitor and combining it with DNA and enzymatic screening programs. Also, Jewish rabbis are now making couples get tested before they get married. Families with children who have Tay-Sachs have a hard time losing their child. However, they try to look at all the good times they had with their child before the death. Ryan Anthony was born on February 19, 2002, who was sadly diagnosed with cancer and died on August 20, 2005, although he fought against the disease. His picture is right here. That was Ryan Anthony. And now a short video of Tay-Sachs disease.
The Marquez family looks back fondly on memories like this. This is their son Gavin, giggly and full of life, just a year ago.
He's a real mellow kid. Ever since he was born, he's been really laid back.
A healthy and happy-go-lucky toddler.
Yeah, go look. That's yours. That's yours over there.
He didn't take his first steps until he was 16 months old. At first, his parents didn't think anything was wrong.
Oh, no, Gav. God, son.
It was not until November 2008 when Jan and Fern began to notice a change.
He'd walk around, he'd fall down, and he'd just sit there. And, we tried kind of testing it, like, maybe he'll get up in like a couple minutes. But he would just sit. Ready, set, go. Come on, my friend, come on.
Not only did his walk become a wobble,
A lot of the things that he used to do, he would stop doing. Like, he would play with the light switches. He used to get on and off the couch and on and off the bed. He just wasn't able to do that.
the Marquezes would spend the next few months searching for answers from specialists across the country. On March 2nd, 2009, they would finally get one.
Right when he said, unfortunately, I had to pause because I couldn't breathe for them.
Their 4-year-old son was diagnosed with a rare debilitating disease known as Tay-Sachs.
Our neurologist, he didn't even know much about it. He said, for this outfit, I don't really know much about this disease.
According to medical research, it's a genetic disorder that progressively destroys nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord.
And it causes a child not to walk, not to talk, not to swallow, to eventually become blind and paralyzed, mentally retarded until they can be blind. Here's steps.
Right now, there is no cure.
Good job, Gavin.
Gavin can no longer walk on his own. His parents began feeding him through a tube a few months ago. He gets 4 cans of Pediasure a day. Sometimes it can take up to an hour and a half just to finish one.
That's not something you hear every day. You know, that you're given a normal child, and then all of a sudden they're going to deteriorate until they're going to die in front of you.
Jan decided not to get tested while she was pregnant with Gavin because Tay-Sachs is not common amongst Filipinos. In fact, he may be one of the first.
I think everyone should be tested for it. I mean, we didn't know. We didn't fit the profile. We didn't fit the ethnic group.
Gavin, look. Here's your sister, my boy. Look at that.
Gavin's 1-year-old sister Audrey doesn't have Tay-Sachs disease, but she still carries the gene. As the Marquezes race against time to save their son, they believe there has to be a cure.
You know, as parents, we don't just give up. Because if you give up on your child, it's like you're just burying your child. You have to always hold on to that hope.
While his life expectancy may only reach his 15th birthday, for Gavin's family, every day with him now is a gift.
Your career, your big house, or your fancy car, that doesn't mean anything if you have a child that's ill. I mean, it doesn't matter.
So there are many families in the world, just like Gavin's, and if you would like to help out, you can actually visit the Cure Tay-Sachs Foundation. My references. And I'd like to acknowledge my mentors, Professor McMahon and Professor Brennan, my lab friends, Neonta, Pound Creek, Kimberly, the HCF staff, Dr. Sat, and you for listening.